such tenacity, but the care, it's the care for me. They are amazing at what they do, and it is more than what you see on NCIS and all that. This is real life stuff. And so I want to present to some. Pastor Brett, you have her presentation ready? I want to present to some and introduce to others Special Agent Kate Murray from Homeland Security Investigation.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much. Thank you for the church for hosting us. Thank you, everybody. When I came in and I saw like the people were just pouring in, you know, it does. It really makes my heart happy that there's that many people. You know, maybe you're here for the free food, and that's fine. You know, I'm okay with that. If we have to get you guys here with free food, I'll do it. But I could see, you know, everybody's reaction during Shaniqua's presentation. Meanwhile, my reaction was like, really, I got to follow that? Like, you know, I'm going to just bore you guys? No, just kidding, with a very short PowerPoint presentation. Again, like I said, my name is Kate Murray. I'm a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations. I've been an agent now, it'll be 20 years, end of August. I'll be on for 20 years. So yes, I started when I was 6, so I'm very young. But yes, I started very, very young. I was very motivated. You know, I love the agency that I work for. I love the office I work for. You know, Brent is my supervisor. I love him. I'm not just saying that because he's my boss and I have to, but Sean is phenomenal. Everybody I work with in my group, we have a couple that don't really do the human trafficking cases. However, they're always there if we need support, if we need help. But the core group of us, there's about 4 or 5 of us that work these cases. Every single one of us, we approach them with that victim-centered approach. You know, we're not looking at a person and saying, you know, looking at them and judging. They get zero judgment. Another great thing that our agency does or does not do, we don't prosecute. You know, and to be honest with you, that's why it's great to have Bloom out there with us, Thrive, Valley Youth House, because if I walk in and I'm talking with a sex worker and I'm like, hey, you're not going to get arrested, she's not going to believe me because she's been arrested before, you know, she's been judged before, you know, by some of these dinosaur cops, these dinosaur detectives. And I've called some of them that in the past, and I have no problem telling them in the future. You know, there are certain people that can work these cases in law enforcement, and there are certain people that just cannot. So the good thing with our task force is we kind of get to handpick who comes on as task force officers with a lot of our state and local agencies, you know, and then depending on, we'll get a few that maybe get given to us, you know, and I'm just like, okay, you guys are on outside cover, you're surveillance, you know. I'm not having them next to me to talk to these victims because they're going to destroy any rapport that I'm trying to build. You know, sometimes when working with these women and men, they don't believe me, you know, and that's fine. I understand that. It's going to take time, you know. But that's when bringing in, you know, Carol and her crew, you know, I let them sit and talk with them. With outside, we'll leave the room. You know, we'll let them build that rapport and then tag team us in when it's the right time. So again, like I said, I'm with Homeland Security. My office is out of Allentown, but we cover Monroe, Carbon, Schuylkill, Lehigh, Northampton, and Berks County. There's 7 of us, so we are very, very busy. But that is, again, why we depend heavily on getting task force officers. So what they are, they kind of are cross-designated, like they can kind of enforce some of our laws, federal laws. I'm about to sign up another, I met with Carbon County. We're going to start a human trafficking task force up there. I'm going to start building up my task force up there. So right now we're right around 30 task force officers. You know, my goal is to get about 50 because I want to get my other 3 counties involved. There we go. All right. This is a headquarters slide. I'm going to tell you, you know, but Homeland Security, what we do, quick, simple, we investigate pretty much anything. You know, there is a lot of overlap. You know, we always get, you know, oh, are you with the FBI? You know, like, we always get that. But we investigate human trafficking, crimes against children, firearms, financial crimes, narcotics, a lot of the dark web stuff now, the cryptocurrency, those, you know, I don't know if anybody's been affected by this or know somebody that's been affected by this, but those scams that are going around, those Microsoft pop-up scams, that unfortunately do target the elderly just because of maybe a lack of knowledge of technology. I'm going to throw this out there real quick. We had a win a couple weeks ago. We were actually alerted by one of the cryptocurrency companies that they detected that there was a possible scam going on involving a woman in her early 70s. She was about to wire $80,000. Okay? So this is where me having my fingers in everything, you know, I knew what police department that she lived in. I was able to reach out to a police officer that I've worked cases with. They immediately ran a sergeant out there, and we were actually able to stop it. You know, we always get it after the fact. It's after that 80,000 is gone, you know. So that's a win. I love it. You know, I'm not going to get an arrest. I'm not going to be able to kick anybody's door down. But you know what? We're saving that woman, and we're getting that $80,000 back to where it's supposed to be. A little bit about our vision statement, you know, secure you guys, secure the homeland, you know. Simple as that. Keep you guys safe. Keep my family safe.
Kate, point the clicker towards this side. There you go.
There we go. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. All right, so our mission to counter human trafficking. So we do a lot of these proactive chat operations. These are the fun part. This is the fun part of my job. So I think we shoot to go about 6 to 8 of these operations a year in all of our different counties. Okay, so we go online. We pose as either, you know, kids online on all the different social medias. We jump on all those gaming systems. We'll jump on to some of the escort services, such as Skip the Games. We'll post some ads posing as minors, you know. I pose also, unfortunately, please don't judge me, as a bad foster mom, who I am basically making my 13-year-old, and I've gone as young as 7, available. You know, and unfortunately, with way too many people that are interested in that, okay? The other part of that operation that we do is then we try to make contact with adults or anybody that's posting on Skip the Games or some of the other different sites, and we go out and, I mean, initially we set up a date with them, but then we go speak with them. We ask them, you know, can we help you? You know, is there somebody that's forcing you to do this? Do you know of anybody that's getting forced? We try to gather some information from them. You know, another good thing that we have, you know, my buddy Brian, and we also work very closely with Lehigh County Drug and Alcohol. A lot of drug and alcohol problems and addiction within human trafficking. You know, I give them a heads up, like, hey guys, we're going to be running an op this day. You know, I get a point person, so if I have somebody that is in need of services, in need of treatment, or in need of a detox, quick phone call, throw them in my car, and get them somewhere. You know, the way I have it worked out with the county is they don't need insurance. They don't even need to be county residents, or let alone in the state. Even if they don't want to give us their true and correct name in the beginning, that's okay. We'll get them in the doors, and then we'll get over that. Shaniqua kind of talked about it. The victim-centered approach. We don't arrest, you know. A lot of our other agencies, and this is something that we kind of battle with some of the state and local police departments, you know, we can't do this, okay? Because we can't go out and arrest a victim and then turn around and ask them for help. We can't, you know, arrest a victim and say that, no, it's a victim-centered approach. Our actions have to back our words. Simple as that. Okay. So I'm going to quiz you guys, see how many of you are paying attention during Shaniqua's presentation. What is human trafficking? Doesn't have to be the Webster's dictionary, but to you, what is human trafficking? Somebody doing something against their will. Okay? What 3 things are needed? Not all at once, it's that, you know, 1, 2, or 3. She was paying attention. Get her a Hershey kiss. I should have brought them in. I should have thrown them out to you. Yes. Force, fraud, or coercion, except when you are what? 18 or under. Get her another Hershey kiss. All right. Yes. So force, fraud, or coercion when you're over 18. Okay. When you're under the age of 18, even if they think they are doing it willingly, because unfortunately we see that a lot. No. Under 18, they're an automatic victim. Some of the ones that we see in our general area, housekeeping, The farms, maybe not as much. We see a lot of that down in like the Delaware and Chester counties, huge with the mushroom farms. You know, we've actually had a bunch of cases down that way where we were going after some of the owners of the mushroom farms because they were employing undocumented people. They were housing them, they were transporting them, holding on to their identification documents, you know, crazy long hours, minimum pay, you know, what they had to pay for room and board is they can never get out of being in the red. So, yeah, Amish do, yeah. Massage parlors, also, they're huge in this area, huge up in Monroe County. And then the labor trafficking, okay? Similar idea as the farms, you know, it's holding on to their documents, it's housing them somewhere. It's basically putting that bondage on them, you know, so that they can't get out of the situation that they're in. Okay, just real quick, I know you guys had this all already, but labor trafficking, I touched on that, the recruiting, harboring, transportation. One of my first cases, so I started off in Newark, New Jersey. I'm from Philly. You can probably get that from some of my accent. I haven't been in Philly in forever, but I can't get rid of it. We were working this African hair braiding case. So we were having girls coming in, some were under the age of 18, some were over. They were coming in on what they call a diversity visa. So it's like a certain lottery visa that certain countries get a set amount of. So then it was a woman who was one of the main traffickers. It was her and her husband, but she was definitely like the head one. She was head in charge. They would recruit these women, but get them to get married before they left. So then they were able to smuggle, essentially bring two people in. You know, these girls were told, like, you're going to come over here, yeah, you're going to work, but it's 8-hour days, you're going to, you know, they sold it to them, you know. Get them over here, and the men usually would just go somewhere else, you know, and the women would get housed. This was up in, like, the Newark area. They would get housed. Their documents were taken from them. They kind of instilled this fear, you know, that you can't trust law enforcement, that we're bad, we're going to send you back. You know, you don't have your immigration documents on you, they're just going to deport you, you know. They put this fear in them. So they would house them, transport them to and from work. They were working like long days, you know, 14, 15, 16, it's a crazy amount of time that they were working. They brought in a couple minors, girls that, Anna was the youngest, she was about 13. She had to kind of stay at home, and she ran the house. She cooked, cleaned, this little 13-year-old girl. You know, these girls were abused, hot water was thrown on them, a couple of them were sexually assaulted. You know, thankfully, one girl met this guy on the street, which is what we hope that we're going to get from this presentation. He saw things that just didn't seem right. So he started kind of having this little conversations with her, little by little by little, you know, and then eventually she trusted him enough where she came clean and said, like, this is what's going on. And he grabbed her and took her to our office. And from there, we were able to arrest the perpetrators. We ended up saving 15 girls, and we arrested 4. And I still am in contact with some of the girls, you know. We're Facebook friends, and they'll message me, you know, and I love it, you know, because it's great to see how well they're doing, you know. So it's good stories like that give me that motivation, because I feel the anger, you know, I get the frustration. You know, because I'm never happy with, you know, that's why I'm kicking doors in, because I'm never happy. No. You know, people will get a certain sentence by a judge, you know, and I'm never happy with it. You know, I always want more. But I use that anger and frustration, and I channel it kind of in a positive way. You know, kick that door harder and, you know, and work a lot. So again, sex work versus sex trafficking. So the choice or circumstance, I know Shaniqua talked about this, you know. The choice is not really what you define as a choice. It's more of a necessity, okay? You know, that word, honestly, I should probably change it to necessity. You know, so it's not that they're wanting to go out and do these things. It's that they have no other choice. They need to keep the lights on. They need to feed the family. They need to feed themselves, you know. Again, between consenting adults, again, consenting, you know, there should be a little asterisk next to that, because I feel like consenting is not the definition of what consenting is, you know, because again, it's a survival. You know, they're doing this for survival. And honestly, again, too, not necessarily a victim by law. However, sex work can easily go into sex trafficking very, very quickly, okay? It can ping pong between sex work and trafficking. It can go back and forth, you know. It's not very black and white. There is a lot of gray area, unfortunately, with this topic. Again, sex trafficking, forced fraud or coercion, involuntary or involves a minor, and of course is a victim. So trafficking, again, it's a crime against a person. You know, a lot of people ask, like, is human smuggling considered human trafficking? It's not necessarily the same thing, okay? Human smuggling is a crime against the state, so it's a crime against the United States. Those individuals are willingly getting smuggled into, say, the United States. But unfortunately, we see a lot of times that a smuggling event quickly will turn into a trafficking. You know, there's been certain circumstances down along the border where a group of individuals will come in, you know, on a human smuggling load, as we call them, or a human smuggling group. And next thing you know, they're getting held at a house, getting held, kept ransom. They're not getting released until more money gets, or they're getting forced to do things, you know. So that human smuggling, again, can quickly just shift into trafficking. And the biggest thing, too, is, you know, for trafficking, there's no border crossing required. Everybody thinks, you know, everybody's seen that movie Taken, you know? You get thrown in a container, and within 2 minutes, you're over in the Middle East somewhere. That doesn't happen, okay? It wasn't even believable in the movie, let alone here, you know, in reality. No border crossing, okay? You don't even need to cross state lines. The amount of trafficking that we see just in the Lehigh Valley area, I think if we really, like, gave you guys like a down and dirty kind of like presentation, like what we see, you know, you might have some nightmares. So we're not going to do that, you know, but the amount that we're seeing here is unbelievable, okay? Shanique also touched on, you know, kids with games, kids with smartphones, iPads, different things like that. You know, I was talking to my buddy Brian back there during her presentation, and, you know, the gaming systems, you know, pretty much 99% of the games out there that your kids or grandkids play have some sort of a messaging component to it, okay? If your kids or grandkids want a game, no headphones. Whatever you say, I need to hear, okay? Make them play the game with their door open at least. You know, if you can't put them in, like, say, the living room. Some of the other things, too, know the passcodes. I know this isn't internet safety, but I'm giving you guys some tips. Know the passcodes to your kids' devices. If they don't want to give them to you, they don't get their device, okay? The youngest I've seen, like I said, in my own almost 20 years, we had this, I got contacted by another office. I think they were in, like, Missouri, I think. They arrested a guy out there that was using Roblox, which is a game that he was talking to minors, okay? He was giving these kids $5 in Roblox cash so they can buy, I don't even know what they buy in that game. I don't game. $5 here, $10 there to get them to produce pictures of themselves. You know, I had to go out and I had to talk to a mother and let her know that her 8-year-old daughter was sending pictures, then victimized her 6-year-old brother, and then got the 7-year-old neighbor across the street as well. Okay? Not easy conversations to have. All right? That's why I'm trying to just say, like, no headphones if they're gaming, no passcodes, you know, and I know you don't want to scare your kids, but you have to give them some sort of reality. Trafficking also can be foreign nationals or citizens. What we see here in the Lehigh Valley, U.S. citizens, people from Pennsylvania. You know, we will see some from New York, you know, and Jersey and different things like that, but they're the person behind you at the Giant, you know, waiting to, you know, put themselves through heck going through the self-checkout, because it never works. You know, they're the people that you see walking down the street. Again, force, fraud, or coercion, everybody knows what those are. Force, physical assault, sexual assault. The fraud, that's what we saw a lot in the hair braiding case, as well as what we see a lot at the farms down in, like, the Chester and Delaware County. You know, it's a great job you're going to have, and then when they get you here, you have no one, you're stuck. then that's when reality sets in. And coercion. The biggest thing that we see here in the Lehigh Valley with our task force, and we have, like I said, we have a Berks County and Northampton and Lehigh County task force right now for human trafficking. Again, my goal is now to get the other 3 counties stood up relatively soon. Forced drug dependency. We're seeing that so much. That's why it's important to have partnerships with Brian, with the drug and alcohol in the county, because we have to get over that hurdle there before we can start the healing process. As much as I love kicking doors down, I know a victim very rarely is ready to tell her or his full story the first time we sit down. There's a lot of healing that needs to be done, okay? Something I usually don't say in presentations, but I'll say it here. I'm also in recovery. I'm a little over 5 years sober. So I feel that brings a little bit of an understanding, to when I'm dealing with individuals that struggle with the same problems, so I can kind of bring a little bit to that, an understanding and that empathy that people were talking about. Traffickers and victims can be any age, any race, any background, socioeconomic. They're found in legitimate and illegitimate industries, so you'll have a company, like I said, the mushroom farm company, it's a legitimate company. However, their actions are what we're having the problems with. You can be alone and in groups, family members, close friends, positions of trust. It's not really, it's not that stereotypical, sex trafficker that you see on the movie, It can be somebody who you would walk past on the street and not think twice about. Another thing that we see a lot hand in hand too, again, because of that forced drug dependency, is drug trafficking, all right? We'll touch base with a couple of the cases that we did here, but I don't know if I highlighted this one, but there was a case down in Berks County that we did. There was about 3 or 4 different gangs that kind of tied their flags together, and they decided to, we're going to take over this 50-room boarding house, okay? So they kind of joined forces, put all their, issues aside, and they started running drugs out of this boarding house as well as women. I think we pulled 3 minors out of there, 3 minor victims, and I think a total of about 10 to 11 total victims were rescued. Some of these women were kept in dog cages. They were brutalized over and over again, and they would also withhold drugs to get them to do what they wanted to do. So that's why I'm saying, that choice, there's no choice. It's a matter of, if I can get what I need so I'm not feeling sick or in pain, I'm going to do it. Some of the other people might say, oh, well, that's a choice. No, it's not. It's not a choice. But so again, that case was just crazy. And Carol sat through some of the trial on that one. Quite a few of them got life sentences, which is great. People were murdered, attempted murder, everything was kind of going on there. All right. Before we jump to that, I'm not going to give you guys the answers. What are some of the potential indicators of human trafficking? If you were out on the street and you saw something and you're like, it doesn't feel right. What about that kind of gets to those spidey senses going? What are some indicators of trafficking?
I was in Virginia and I was staying in a hotel. I saw an older gentleman have a young girl by right above the elbow by her arm. And she was kind of slowly walking, yet crying. I didn't hear a scream, but she had her hood up and she was kind of burying her face in her hair.
Okay.
It just kind of rang a bell to me that sometimes the owners, the other side of the hotel was actually told by when we were leaving, thankfully that weekend, that there were a bunch of people coming to that hotel to participate. And I saw just a group of other young women that were kind of off to the side of the trees. I didn't feel comfortable talking to them, but it rang a bell to me that was what was going on.
Yeah, 100%. You probably hit about 8 or so of the indicators. You have that person, that older person that is kind of physically controlling them. They got them hooked by their arm, She's got to go where I go. That lack of eye contact, she's got her hood up, her face is down. she's upset, you know. A lot of activity, a lot of in and out, you know. That was a bunch of indicators. And 100%, don't go up and talk to anybody. That's something I'm going to stress at the end. You know, call 911 if it's something like really like immediate. You know, try to identify as much as you can. Color of car, how many doors it has. If you can grab a license plate, a partial plate, you know, but never do anything to put yourself at risk. What are some other indicators?
Not speaking for yourself, like looking to him or her for permission to say the thing.
Yep, not speaking for yourself, exactly.
Branding.
Branding, yes, that does happen. That is one thing that is in the movie that we have seen. You know, you have the crown, the tattoo crown, you know, that says the trafficker's name underneath, you know, and he has one that says, usually they call themselves king because they have a big ego. So they call themselves a king, you know. They, the barcode tattoo, we've seen that happen as well, you know. Again, some indicators. The biggest ones that we'll see when you're out on the street are those physical health, you know, the bruises, the hand marks, the black eyes, you know, that controlling behavior, you know, that they don't go anywhere without, it could be a guy or a girl, you know. If I'm trying to, you know, if I'm a hotel employee, you know, and I'm checking you guys in for a room and I'm trying to ask you for your information, but this guy answers for you, you know. Those are all things that are kind of like something's not right. Not having your documents, not having your driver's license. We've seen it where they don't even know what state they're in sometimes because they're kind of just bounced all around. Dressing too, you know, we've seen it where it's, you know, we love the snow up here in the Lehigh Valley. I've never seen so much snow. Even from Philadelphia, there's like this weird line that, you know, it's just, we just get so much up this way, but, you know, but then they're going to be dressed almost like they're summertime. You know, it's, things just don't match. Very anxious, the fearful, the crying, you know, those are all the things that, you know, that you just are just like, wow, that just, something's not right. Again, speaks on behalf, the forced alcohol or drug dependency, you know, taking the identification, their money, you know, lack of communication with family. Sometimes they won't even have a cell phone with them, you know, different things like that. You know, some of those are the more glaring, you know, indicators. There will be some that are a little bit more subtle, you know, but it's the best way to judge it is what you see that kind of gives you that icky feeling, you know, that something is not right. This is the fun part. What are we doing here in the Lehigh Valley? Like I said, we have the Lehigh and Northampton County Human Trafficking Task Forces. Northampton's been up for less than a year now, I think about, or right around a year. Lehigh's been going for closer to 2, I think. Like really officially about a year and a half. Again, our primary goal is to put handcuffs on people. That's the best part of my job. I love it. You know, I have pink handcuffs that I put on people that hurt children, just because like I want to make them go into jail with pink handcuffs on. So, you know, it's my best way of being passive aggressive that I can do without getting in trouble. You know, and actually some of my coworkers are like, I want to get a pair now too. So it's like spreading. You know. But if I arrest, like, say, somebody who's doing drugs or guns or something, they get the good silver ones. That's okay, you know. But the pink ones are special for my guys that hurt my kids, you know. Combat human trafficking, you know. We don't typically do, like, the John operations. You know, we try to go out and just educate and talk with the sex workers, you know, to see if they want out, you know. A lot of times, they might not be ready right then and there. Leave them sometimes I won't give them my card, but I'll give them my cell phone number. You know, I've had phone calls 6 months after, you know. Shaniqua talked about getting their records expunged. You know, I have zero problem reaching out to their parole officer, reaching out to whoever, reaching out to the DA to see if there's some sort of resolution that we can do, you know. Because if we can't get them stood up successfully in another career, they're going to go back not because of choice, because they have no choice. So we have to break that cycle. So again, you know, there was one woman that reached out that she really needed to get out of Northampton County. She had to get, you know, change that area. You know, her son lived out in Colorado, and we were able to work, myself and the state trooper were able to work with a probation officer that we essentially got her probation transferred out there to Colorado. She's off probation now, she's doing well, and she's living with her son and taking care of her granddaughter. So now she can be a grandma. You know, but if we weren't able to kind of get her out of that toxic environment, that would have never happened. Again, we provide another thing that we have with our agency, we have a victim witness coordinator. We also have a forensic interviewer. So our forensic interviewer, Denise, she's amazing. She will go out and speak with the victims. She'll speak with the kids, the adult victims. She's not law enforcement, so she kind of has that like rapport off the jump because she's not a cop. You know, she's not in law enforcement. And then Michelle is our victim witness coordinator. She's great too, you know. And, you know, again, with Shaniqua's presentation, it was so powerful. But the team approach, that's the only way that we could do anything, you know, because I can only do so much with my job. So then that's when I need to rely on everybody else, you know, and that's why it's such a great thing that we have with these task forces. Again, the victim-centered approach, you know, we will not arrest for posting online, any sort of prostitution charge. We will not arrest. If there's another warrant that they might have for something else, we work with that as well. We get that resolved. These are just some stats. Or like every federal agency, they love their numbers, they love their stats. To be honest with you, those numbers I don't even think reflect truly what we do, you know, because there might not be a federal indictment or a federal conviction, it doesn't mean that they weren't charged maybe on the state and local. And guess what? We might be able to help a victim and not prosecute anybody, but again, that's still a win because we got that person out of that bondage. These are just some stats. I have to actually update this, but in Lehigh County, we've run, I really do have to update this actually. We've had 2 other ops in Lehigh County, and we have another one coming up in July. Berks County, that's been up and going for quite a bit now, so we've had a lot of these undercover chat operations, as we call them. Again, some stats from 2020 for investigations, about 18 human trafficking. The 35 to 40 child exploitation, I mean, that's very, very low. You know, unfortunately with COVID and just the fact that everybody has some sort of device, the child exploitation cases and just the child exploitation leads, going out on victim identifications, helping out another office, it's constant. It's never ending. We had just successfully prosecuted somebody in Lehigh County for trafficking of a minor using a fictitious. So we were chatting with him as an undercover. We were 17, and we were also with our 14-year-old friend. Okay, that was the first time ever in Lehigh County that we got a guilty plea, jury trial, for this individual using an undercover, a fictitious minor. So I'm hoping now that we have that one underneath our belt, we can now use that as case law. Like, see, we did it, we can do it again, you know. And that was off of one of the, I think it was the July 2022 op. Okay, impactful results. These are just some of the stories from some of our different ops that we've had. So the one on the left, the New York man charged with human trafficking out of a Berks County hotel. I was duty agent for a week. I got a phone call from my counterpart up in Boston. Was like, hey, you know, we have this victim of a human trafficking case. She was a minor at the time when she was a victim. She was set up, she was doing really well. You know, she was in a program similar to Bloom or Value, like Thrive. You know, she hit 18, you know, still doing really well in school. Jumped back into social media. I hate social media. I absolutely hate it. It is like the devil's playground, I call it. She jumped back into social media. And before she knew it, she kind of got sucked up into those old behaviors, you know, posting certain pictures. certain pictures that get posted attract certain guys. You know, she got messaged by this one gentleman, use that term very loosely, out of New York, you know, and he was doing that whole Romeo pimp thing, you know, that love bombing. You know, you're great, you're this, I'm gonna buy you gifts, all this stuff. Like, you know, gets her a bus ticket, so she leaves Boston, goes down to New York. Things are great for like the first few weeks. I would say probably a couple weeks. Next thing you know, that's when he starts, you know, introducing that force, the physical abuse, getting her to do things that she does not want to do. She travels out in New York. She's working out of a couple of hotels up there, comes into Jersey, working some hotels out of there, comes over to right outside of Reading in Berks County in Pennsylvania, is working out of a hotel. He was in getting like a shower or something, so she was able to get her phone. She reached out to her caseworker, you know, her Shaniqua or her Carol, you know, and was like, look, I need help. Like, I don't know where I'm at, but she was able to provide the phone number that he was posting these ads from. They call me. I have some, you know, law enforcement databases. I can quickly throw her picture in as well as a phone number. Immediately, I'm able to identify her ad. So I grab one of my undercover phones. I have two. I have 4 phones usually. You know, I start setting up a date, essentially. I'm communicating with him, though. I'm not communicating with her. So I get the hotel location. I'm on my other phone, calling my Berks County Task Force officers guys, and I'm like, hey, I'm not going to be able to get down there in time because I'm in Allentown. Don't wait. This is what I have. A couple of them were off, dropped what they were doing, got in. I was able to set up what they call like a car date. You know, I wanted her out of the hotel room because that separated her from him, kept my guys safer and her safer. Gets her out, she gets into the car, she gets told, hey, well, I'm a detective, you're not in trouble. She has my detective has the caseworker on his phone talking to her, kind of calming her down. They quickly kind of whip her away from the hotel. My guys go up to the room, get the guy, he had a weapon, ended up being an airsoft gun, but they said it was so realistic that if he drew it on them, things probably would not have ended the way they did because it was so realistic. But probably from start to finish, it was under 2 hours that we were able to get her out of this hotel. Never that successful. It's not always like that. I wish it was, you know, but this thing's just stars kind of aligned, you know, that we were able to get her out of that hotel. One thing that we saw that I've never seen, he actually put an Apple AirTag in her shoe. That was discovered. So she didn't even know about that. So that's another thing to be mindful of, you know. These 8 gorgeous looking men over there, some of them were there they believed to have sex with a minor. A few other ones were there to pay for underage, who they thought were underage sex workers. That guy in the bottom right, I arrested him twice. You know, the first time he kind of got a slap on the wrist, second time he got hit a lot harder. Because when he sent me his picture, I was like, oh my God, I knew exactly who he was. Now, granted, I'll forget what's on my grocery list that's written out, but then like something like that, I'm like, I knew exactly who he was. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So all those guys were arrested, you know. Another thing that we like, when I say like, it's what we try to do with these operations is we try to get, if they're showing up to meet a kid, you know, what they think is a kid, we get them to bring something of monetary value. It doesn't have to be cash. I'll ask for like just random stuff from like the 7-Eleven, you know, because that is, I can then get them with sex trafficking charges because it's some sort of a payment for sexual purposes. Again, it does not have to be currency. It does not have to be the money that's in your pocket. It can be anything of value. 2 of my other cases, these were actually involving actual children. So this is a little bit more onto the child exploitation part of what I do. I've been working child exploitation and human trafficking cases for a solid 15 out of the 20 years of my career. Gentleman on the bottom left, he was actually talking to a minor female. This girl was very vulnerable. You know, she was a cutter. She had a lot of mental health issues, and he knew she was vulnerable. She was easy target for him. You know, but luckily I got to fly down to Alabama. He was supposed to be in Jacksonville. He was in the Navy. He was getting ready to process out. So I got to ruin his honorable discharge, so now he discharged dishonorably. I was originally supposed to go to Jacksonville, Florida, which was, a lot nicer and warm, and my hotel was going to be on the beach, but instead I went to, Alabama. But yeah, we ended up getting him. He got sentenced to 20 years. I'm happy with that. This one I'm not happy about. Still mad about this one. Former teacher, again, preyed upon one of his students. Swooped in when she was very vulnerable. She was 14 when he started this grooming process. Supplied her with drugs and alcohol, kind of got her dependent on that as well. The judge only gave him 20 years. I'm not happy with that, but now, that's my motivation. So next time, I'm going to push for more, for whatever I can do to get more time. But again, these two cases would not have happened if we did not have our partnerships with our state and local police departments. Because the police department for that one, the Navy guy, Mr. Otwell, they reached out to me because they're like, look, he's out of state, we can't do anything. So I was like, I can. And then the Bethlehem teacher, that's one of our task force officers with Bethlehem Township, phenomenal detective, did amazing, and we were able to get him with the 20 years. Blue Campaign. So this is a program, I gave you guys that Human Trafficking 101. On the back has all this information. So the Blue Campaign, you'll see some of the posters in where we had the breakfast and the lunch will be. These are all free. You guys can reach out to Blue Campaign, ask for different material. There's those little indicator cards in the folder that kind of highlight some of the human trafficking indicators and what to do. They come in, I think, 30, 40, 50 different languages, the material. We try to put these out everywhere. We're working on trying to get them into the bathrooms at ABE, in the back of the door. So, just to put it out there. But again, the Blue Campaign, if you need any material, you can go online and print out a lot, but if you want any of their official material, reach out to them, and they will 100% send it out to you free of charge. And if you guys have problems and they're not sending it to you and you need it for, say, the church, reach out to one of us and we'll get it for you. How you can help. Know the signs. I talked about that, what gives you that icky feeling in your stomach, that spidey sense. Everything that you said over there, that was, like I said, 8 different indicators right there. When you see something, you see those indicators, you can recognize it, then you report it, okay?
I was also going to say, it was clarified as we were leaving by a couple that they had no choice and could afford anything else. How can we, do you know any ways as somebody in the system to get rid of hotels that their ownership supplies that ability to do so?
That's actually,
More often, like you said, the state lines and the hotels are basically located right there at convenience.
right.
Highways.
Yep, right off the highway. So that is a very good question. She asked if there's anything that we can do going after the hotels or motels that are aware of what is going on.
Or participants.
Yeah, or the person.
Owners are participants.
Right. So if we can prove that an owner is either kind of a part of the human trafficking or turning that blind eye, federally there are certain things that we can do. We can go after them civilly. We can hit them in their bank account and then essentially shut their hotel down. We can get them with some sort of, like I said, a fine, or if they're really complicit in the trafficking, we can go after and take their property. We can take their hotel. We will respond. We have a tip line. I think the last slide might have my cell phone number and my email. I do reply, even when I'm on vacation. I lack work-life boundaries, but it's okay. But I will. I'd rather you guys reach out to me and be like, hey, I saw this. I'm not really sure. What are your thoughts? And we'll talk it through. We'll work through it together. Again, we have the HSI tip line, which is that number up there, 1-866-347-2423. And then there's the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888-373-7888. This is anonymous. You can also go online and report it. It can be anonymous, or you can say, yeah, law enforcement can call me if they want. If you're seeing something where somebody's physically getting assaulted, grabbed, thrown into a vehicle, call 911. Do not call our tip lines. Call 911. Also, do not try to apprehend a trafficker. The reason I say this is because I've had one very energetic hotel manager. Love her to death. She's great. She put herself in harm's way multiple times, and with her baseball bat, trying to apprehend a trafficker. So I usually yell at her and then thank her at the same time. But again, do not try to apprehend. I mean, honestly, I don't try to apprehend anybody unless I have to by myself. I'm always with a partner. It's never just me, if I can control that. Be a careful observer, document vehicle color, how many doors, what kind of license plate, if you can catch the license plate. Traffickers are very counter surveillance aware. So they're going to be watching you, what you're doing with your cell phone. What I love doing is I'll act like I'm taking a picture of somebody, but I'm really taking a picture of what's behind them. Take a selfie and catch whatever, everybody takes selfies. But again, just be very, very careful, because I don't want anybody to put themselves in harm's way. All right, so questions and answers, but that top number there, that's like my dispatch, essentially, okay? You can call that number and say, can we talk to the resident agent in charge, just say the Allentown duty agent, okay? They'll connect you with whoever's on call. That's my email and my cell phone number. Feel free to email me with something, if it's just something you're like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or if you need any other sort of presentations anywhere. Like I said, we do an internet safety presentation that we go into schools, parents, teachers, whatever you need. We do sextortion presentations. We do the financial fraud, the scam presentations as well. Pretty much, if you need it, we do it. So if there's anything that you guys want, any other sort of outreach, do not hesitate to reach out. I will be more than happy to get out and do what I can, or have a coworker go in my place. So with that being said, any questions that I can hopefully answer?
What has been your experience in school districts and breaking that barrier to educate young kids about that?
So what we've been doing in the school district to kind of break down that barrier, it's the same thing like this. It's getting out there. Anytime I'm doing some sort of a forensic interview with a child, I always try to get to that kid's school. And even if it doesn't involve the school, I still say, like, hey, this is what we do. This is my card. We're helping a student of yours. I'm not going to give them the info, but this is what's going on, and this is what we can do. So the biggest thing is just getting out there and doing those presentations. Trying to have the admin, such as like the principal, also take a victim-centered approach. We have a case right now, a 13-year-old girl, amazing kid, got taken advantage on Snapchat. She thought she was speaking with a 15-year-old, ends up not being a 15-year-old. I'll be driving up in the near future to New Hampshire to kick down the door of this gentleman's house. I find out from the girl that she gets in-school suspension. This principal was a dinosaur principal, so I very politely, for me, let him know that I did not know. I said, I think the way I phrased it was like, you did great for most of the things. And he looked at me and I said, in-school suspension. Before I did this job, I was a high school guidance counselor for about a year. And I would have never done that, but he acknowledged. I don't think he'll listen. I think if something happens like that again, unfortunately, I think he will do in-school suspension, But all I did was just make it clear with the kid. I'm like, you're not in trouble. I was like, forget him. And she wasn't even in trouble with her mom, which, usually parents are the ones that are going to get a little bit more upset. So the biggest thing is the outreach education, getting out there and doing these presentations. We can go from kindergarten to 12th grade, teachers and parents. I like to try to get out there from kindergarten to about 5th or 6th, because that's really when the phones are starting to get in there. They're still they still listen a little bit at that point. we can kind of get through to them. And for each grade level, it's age appropriate. So I'm not going to be putting a kindergarten kid through something that we're showing a senior in high school. It's very age appropriate. So yeah, the biggest thing is education, getting out there.
I was going to say education to guidance counselors in public schools.
Yep.
Because I see things all over the world where kids are trying to eat and they can't be provided that in their own home.
Mhm.
How could you, again, in your position, outreach to guidance counselors in schools to actually have compassion for their own life?
Yeah.
Some kids are actually scared to say something because they're not going to be considered as, okay, well, they're your parents, But being as young as some that are still under the influence of, their rights. Because I see kids my age, well, not kids, but kids when I was younger, be going through some really, really horrible things. And they're like, I'm afraid to say anything because I don't know, if they're actually going to have compassion towards the situation.
Right. And that's where, the biggest thing I stress when we're doing these presentations is keeping that communication open. I tell the parents, look, I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine as a parent, you want to react, and yell or, it doesn't come out of a bad place. It comes out of love. But it's for us, we try to stress with the admin, the teachers, the guidance counselors, the parents, take a second, pause, take a couple deep breaths, and respond. Don't react. Because if you react, you kind of shut that, that wall goes up. The kid now is not going to talk, and God forbid something else happens down the road, they're going to be like, I'm not going to talk because last time I got yelled at, So that's the biggest thing is trying to have people pause before they don't react, but yes, respond instead. Anything else? Good? All right, well, again, thank you so much for having us out here.
Come on, let's give it up for Kate. Let's give it up for her. Much needed information and much needed partnership. Now you can say you have Homeland Security phone number in your phone. Yeah. Listen, these are our frontliners. I want us to also be praying for her, can we? And praying for her team. Because this is the thing, they go in and get them, but they can't unsee what they see, and they have to go home and process and still try to live life and do life with doing this work. So let me give a choice, because some of you are a little difficult to retrieve from the lunch area there. So we can take a 5-minute break and then go in to hear our survivor, or if she's ready and she's comfortable and you guys can wait a few minutes, before we end, we can go right into our survivor. So this young lady, she's so amazing. Her name is Ashley, but we call her Ash. She is a graduate of the Bloom program. She is a sponsor. She is a mom. She's an all-around amazing, no-nonsense survivor. So we want to have her come. I'm going to ask you this. There is a question card in your folder. If you have a question while she is talking, I am going to collect those questions. I will choose what is an appropriate question to ask, and if the question is appropriate, then I will ask it. We want to be mindful that she is sharing her intimate parts of her, and we want to be mindful of what we ask, right? And to continue to maintain her dignity. So if there are questions, I will stand off to the side while she's talking. Just signal me and I will come and get your question in the box. So without further ado, we have Ash from Bloom.